and anybody who has any familiarity with these two books will tell you they're very different. Even if you learn the Sod Yesharim as an extension and a continuation of the Meshilach, it's not, you wouldn't mistake one from the other. You can tell them they're miles apart. And one reason is simply that the Sod Yesharim, the Gershon Hanach, like his father, and even more than his father, the Beis Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov Weiner, who we're going to kind of skip today. We're going to do some texts from the Meshilach and one text from the Sod Yesharim. The Pshischa tradition was not a very Kabbalistic tradition, meaning they were not quoting the Zohar, they were not quoting the Arizal for the most part. There's some discussion, really, about how affected the Meshilach was from the Arizal. One of the now you don't see so much of the Arizal in the Meshilach. You see it all over the place in the Sod Yesharim. In fact, there's another book written by Gershon Hanach, the grandson of the Ishbitz, the third generation, Tiferes HaChanochi, which is a Pirush on the Zohar, which is really a reconfiguration of the Zohar, not just according to the Ari, which other people have already done, but fitting the Zohar into not just the Arizal's teaching, but also into his grandfather. So he's reinterpreting the Zohar and the Ari according to his grandfather's way of looking at things. Now, I don't want this to be too academic, so I'm going to just go back to the topic at hand, but I'll just conclude this thought by saying that while the first generation of the descendants, the students of Simcha Bunim were not as known for their Kabbalistic writings because they were growing, they were becoming Hasidim of an age, of a group that didn't emphasize Kabbalah, that changed very quickly. Whether it was in Ger, whether it was in Sachachav, or in Ishbitz, they each, to a higher degree, re-embraced Lurianic Kabbalah. So this short period, at least, I'm not saying it was a short period for everybody, but for some of the top disciples, it was only a short period where they were kind of like trying to go easy on the Kabbalah. So the debate is really how much the Meshilach was into explaining things using the Arizal's concepts. And they say that one of the top students of the Meshilach was another great Talmudic genius, which I should have mentioned earlier, because he also was a disciple of Simcha Bunim. I believe he was a disciple of Simcha Bunim. He was definitely a disciple of the no, you know what? He wasn't. I take it back. And he started with the Meshilach. Now I'm remembering the story of how he became a chassid, which is a whole other story. The Pri Tzadik of Tzedek HaKon of Lublin. He became a chassid due to some unfortunate event. He wanted to leave his wife, but she wouldn't want to get. So there's a heter me'er rabbanim. If you get 100 rabbis to sign off that she's something wrong, whatever, they give permission for him to leave. So he was going around collecting these things, and he came to Ishbitz, and that's where he met the Meshilach. And he was between Milchamarev, so he stayed to listen to a Talmud class that the Meshilach gave. And he stayed overnight, and eventually he became a chassid of the Meshilach. But he says when he read the Meshilach, he was disappointed. He said there's a lot of references to the Ari that I never heard the Meshilach talk about them. So from that you already see there was kind of this question. Did the fact that Gershon Hanach was very into the Ari influence the way he wrote the Meshilach? Maybe, maybe not. it's very common, by the way, when a disciple writes over Rebbe's Torah, if they think clearly that the Rebbe was alluding to some teaching in the Ari, even if he didn't say it, and Arizal says, they'll just put in a quotation mark. It's like almost as if a rabbi quotes the Talmud, even if he doesn't say it says in Gemara Brachas Daf Chav Gimel, but if he says that line, we know it's in the Talmud, Brachas Chav Gimel. You put it down, you write it down, you put down the footnote. So that's subject to. In other words, it doesn't mean that Gershon Hanach knowingly inserted things that his grandfather never said into the text because he thought they were important. It doesn't mean that. It just means that he could have interpreted his knowledge. Both of them were very knowledgeable with the Arizal. The Reb Tzadok also was a great Kabbalist who was one of the great minds in Poland at that time. And rumors had it that he went through the Talmud hundreds of times. You get good at it if you just keep doing it again and again, you know. Not that I have gotten good at it, but I'm just saying, like, if you decide to just do a page, let's say you say, I'll do this page of Talmud 10 times. By the 10th time, it takes you 2 minutes to do it. The first time can take you an hour or two. So these guys, they did it when they were bar mitzvah. A lot of them learned Shas by their bar mitzvah. 15. If you were like 20, you were like an old guy. If you hadn't finished the Talmud yet. And these, I mean, we're talking about not the average person, but these kind of brilliant minds. So the fact, by the way, that Reb Tzadok was a disciple of the Mei Shiloh is often quoted. Not that I believe that the Mei Shiloh needed that pat on the back, but it's often quoted as a proof that the Mei Shiloh must have been a tremendous scholar, or else why would somebody like Reb Tzadok want to be his disciple? Specifically, that Reb Tzadok wasn't, he didn't grow up as a chassid. He wasn't like he was the son of a chassid that just became a chassid because he was expected to be a chassid. He joined as an adult, already with great knowledge, this movement. So the first text is like this. The first text is a great text. I'm not going to spend that much time with it, and unfortunately a little bit of it is cut off, but the part that's cut off was not the part we're going to do. But it talks about the difference between Yosef and Yehuda. And so we're going to start from the second page. Let's start from the. I'll tell you where. No, so we're on the. I'll show you where we're starting. I'm going to read this very quickly. We're going to start from the bottom paragraph of the first page on the second paragraph of the first page. 3 lines to the bottom. Can I just ask a question? I just want to know who can even read Hebrew. Not translate, but who can even read Hebrew, because I want to know how much I should be reading in Hebrew. So if most people can read Hebrew, so I'll read the Hebrew then. But I'm going to, I may skip like a few lines, or just not translate a few lines, or if it's just not integral to what we have to do. Ki af shi Yosef Paul b'shmiyos hamel. Does everybody have the place?
No. First page?
The first page. Here, I'll point to where it is. It's right here. The bottom. 3 lines to the bottom, the first page, second paragraph, second column. Ki af shi Yosef Paul b'shmiyos hamel. It's talking about how Yosef is all about guarding himself not to violate any of the laws. He represents a halachic observer. I mean, not observer, but observant halachic man. And even though he affected a lot in the world through his being so observant, because of that all these kings came out of him. Anikim Gedolim, Kedis Medrash, Sak Nog B'nei Adam Gedolim, Shayaharim Lava Sak. We find this concept of greatness associated with wearing sackcloth.